Welcome and thank you for joining us. However you found us, we're happy that you found us. We're here tonight to introduce a new project called the Template Research Group. And I'm Bradley Young. I'm here tonight with Edward Nightingale and Jordan Collin. And we're going to introduce Ed. If you haven't been introduced to him before, he's been working on this for 27 years. Recently calling it the Giza template, and it's going to expand, and we're hoping this research is going to be applied to many other people's research, and want to let Ed tell you about it. How are you doing tonight, Ed? Thanks for doing this with us. Let's crank this thing off.
All right, Brad, thanks. Great. Yeah, and I want to thank you, first of all, for helping me out with this, bringing this information out to the public. We hooked up about almost 10 years ago on some of Randall's trips. And as I was looking for more information in my research, looking toward what you guys were doing, we ended up traveling quite a bit together, brother. And, we talked about this often. And this research I've been doing for 27 years has really expanded into, there's so many facets to it. That I really wanted to start bringing other experts in different fields of science and the arts and exploring this and seeing how their research or your research fits in to this research that I've been working on that I recovered from Giza. This brief background is that in 1997 I traveled with John Anthony West to Egypt, and I had an idea on the hypothesis was that Giza was a repository, and I was looking to back engineer it from an architectural standpoint. That's my trade is I'm a master woodworker, and I've done a lot of high-end architectural millwork and furniture, and drawing and design is what I do. And I had this notion that I suspected if this was a repository, there would be a good place to start. And I had determined where that point was on the plateau and was able to go with John West. And I kind of verified it for myself at that point. And I've been working on it now for, this is 27 years. I published my first results of my research in 2014. With Laird Scranton, and the basis of that book, the Giza Temple Grail Earth Measure, was really the foundation, because this repository at Giza contains information really to rebuild a civilization. It's been called like a culmination of all knowledge, or all the crucial information of measure and in the celestial aspect as well. But the first book basically covers all the measure. I go into all the different cubits, where they all originate, and how they're all determined with the numbers. And so moving it forward, I've really figured out what the message there at Giza is really one of, the knowledge of the measuring systems and how we are bound in this celestial dance that is, really of great importance to our survival as we are learning in all the new sciences. We're seeing the, Randall, his work, and your work, Brad, with the geological evidence of these climate shifts. And this is all encoded within a chronometer that is at Giza. It's a clock, a calendar, and it has the information that is necessary to survive here. And that's was really the message of Giza and what they were putting down there. And when I say, a culmination of all knowledge, there's many different sciences that really get involved here, and that's the reason for this template research project. This gets into so many different facets of ancient history and religion and all the different sciences and the new plasmoids, the plasmoid phenomena, if you want to talk about that in that manner. But we can see that this is all based on numbers that were left at Giza and that are in what's called the lambda sequence. I've done a video on Plato gives us these numbers of the lambda sequence that, when applied to this template and utilized in all the different sciences and really is key. It's a key in all this. It's these beautiful harmonic natural numbers is where it all starts. And as I can see it at this point, I can't see a field of science or art or history or anything that is not tied to this information at Giza. And as unique as this template is at Giza, it can be traced down through the ages of different entities using this template and knowledge of these ancient sciences. There was a high science that was all encoded in this, and there's been bits and pieces of it coming out with Nikola Tesla and the different people in the past have been touching on it. But you can see the fingerprint of this template, and that's where I want to branch out with other people, present you with my research here on this template, and see how it will possibly affect or work with your research and whatever you're doing out there. And at that point, I'll turn it over to Jordan here. Jordan was one of the first guys I contacted, really, with this template research group in mind, realizing that Jordan had a pretty good handle on Malcolm Bendel's new work and the numbers. He was aware of Marco Rodin. I spoke with Marco probably about 15, 17 years ago or so, and knew that I had a piece of the same puzzle he was looking at. So Jordan, I want to turn it over to you, and it was great. You're doing great work over there at Alchemical Science, and so just give us a little bit about yourself and your experience here breaking into this, and take it from there.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Ed.
Sure,
So yeah, I'm Jordan from Alchemical Science. It's my YouTube channel and how I kind of got into this and found out about Ed when he reached out to me. But I'm an organic farmer by trade, so I'm not an academic, and I was never able to go to university. Lots of things I wanted to study, but I've kind of launched out on a bit of a journey on my own these last few years, studying physics, studying mathematics, chemistry, but everything from a very alternative perspective. So I started reading Nikola Tesla a few years ago, and I really discovered what he was saying was completely different to what modern electrical engineering teaches on some kind of really foundational levels. And it kind of explained a lot of what was, well, the problem that I always kind of had with modern institutions of learning. And that really just sent me down a whole path of exploring every kind of field of science from that perspective, going back and reading Tesla and Faraday and Steinmetz and a lot of these old electrical engineers, physicists, mathematicians. Through that, I met Marco Rodin, just kind of releasing my work. And as Ed mentioned, that's really what established that first link between the stuff that Ed was saying and teaching and what I was looking into at the time. and from there, I got introduced to Malcolm Bendel as well. And there's a ton of other, things on the road, but they were kind of, I guess, what I'm known for now and what I really study is, the work of Marco, vortex-based maths, and Malcolm Bendel, the plasmoid unification model. And then I've kind of been building my own mathematical work on top of that. So then Ed reached out to me, and I'm often don't really respond to people. I'm not a really good collaborator, but I just immediately saw that he was using that same form of mathematics, and that same kind of idea of viewing numbers with a different perspective, starting to unify it with geometry, sound, physics, the speed of light. We're just seeing all of those things come together in what Ed was showing with the template, and that just kind of blew me away. So Ed's kind of become my third big teacher in this stuff, of just, I see this is our way forward. It's very esoteric, like a lot of people look at this stuff, and I've had this same experience with BBM and Marco's work, and that was my initial thing, where you just look at these numbers and you look at everything that Ed's showing and you're like, but what does it mean? But it's because this is the foundations of a new science, in my opinion, which is why I kind of wanted to be a part of this group. I'm really grateful for you guys inviting me into chat. And I want to put a lot of my work in mathematics, and these ideas that I've been learning from Marco and Malcolm, learn the full body of Ed's work and help him kind of get it out there and present it, because he's got 27 years of absolute gold, in my opinion, that very, very few people know about. That's kind of why I've joined. A lot to just learn from Ed personally. I kind of take on teachers because I don't go to a regular university and I can't find one that caters for me. I find them in the real world. That's really my whole deal with this.
We appreciate you coming on, Jordan. It's definitely made a quick leap once you've showed up, and already made a video kind of going through some of Ed's initial work to get it out there, and how it may interrelate with Malcolm Bendel's work and these new maths. And you guys have said that the collective work represents the beginning of a fundamentally complete rediscovery of the lost sciences. So what are we going to relearn, and bring these lost sciences back? Yeah, that's going to interest a lot of people right there.
That's
Jordan,
the interesting point, isn't it? That I think this is a rediscovery, and that's why I'm particularly interested in Ed's work. It's a rediscovery, and we know that it was there. We can see broad evidence that we can find evidence now, systems of time, the calendars, the scriptures, the buildings, the architecture, that they knew these numbers. They were using them. They were sacred kind of science to so many ancient cultures. So that's why it's fascinating, is because we're rediscovering something. It's not just a new piece of science. It's new foundations.
Yeah, I think that's key, what you just hit on there, Jordan. Yeah, this is it's a recovery of a curriculum that is encoded at Giza. And I am not the first one to find this. The evidence, and this is what's going to become apparently, or it'll become apparent when you see some of this research. You'll see how that this template, it's literally a template, and there's certain positions and angles and information contained. It's like a fingerprint. So when someone uses this template, it's very easy to realize if they're actually using this template or not. So once you get used to the idea how this template works and how they were encoding things in it, it's really actually very basic. There's a lot of information, so therefore it sounds complex, but the whole basis of it, I think, to me, is a lot simpler than what we're being taught in our universities and in school in general. But so just having the different disciplines involved here,
like mathematics, sacred geometry, engineering, music, alchemy,
Yeah.
architecture, astronomy, different computing methods and high technology. All the things are going to be influenced in some way. I know you had
Right.
a very strong endorsement from John Anthony West, and he mentioned how many implications and ramifications there would be once this was put out and recovered and then shared. So it's an honor to be part of this sharing process right now. And actually, part of the endorsement, he called it the architectural Rosetta Stone. So
Yeah, that's
those are strong words from a well-respected man, John Anthony West. And yeah, you may want to talk a little bit more about your experiences with him.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, John, there's such an awesome story behind this whole thing that we can't get into it here tonight. But meeting John was just such a perfect scenario of events happening, and I was able to go over there with John, and he was very interested right away when I told him what I was going over there to look at and my hypothesis. He was very receptive to that. And in the following years, he was like he was a very strict teacher to me. And like I would present him with stuff and call him up and show him this, and he'd yell at me, "No, you better get back and do a little bit more homework there before you try to present this." And so he was, just very influential and helped me. But his support really meant a lot. And yeah, what this is just it ties into so many of the different sciences, and he was very supportive of that, and I was able to do my first presentation of this work was with John out at CPAC in 2008. I was invited to go out there and presented this.
What is CPAC?
CPAC is the Conference on Ancient Precession and Knowledge with Walter Cruttenden's group, Binary Research Group. I think I did 2011 and 2008. I did two CPACs, and I've presented this stuff. I haven't really been out a lot in the public, putting it out there, but John was adamant about saying that what I was putting out here had some major ramifications and implications, and we talked about that a little, and so I've been really hesitant over the years to really go out there without crossing my T's and dotting my I's. When I first stuck my head up above in the fray there, I was quick to learn that any little mistake you had there, they would let you know about it. So I had a career going, and I didn't really, this research was just on the side, and so I just kept going and have refined it to a point where I can recreate the Giza Plateau from scratch. With the numbers from the lambda, which is provided actually by Plato. And when this is all put together, it is a culmination of all knowledge. There is everything from understanding the measuring system to understanding our celestial measures, and that being key. Again, I brought that up, but there's so many different facets to this in the, as Brad was mentioning there, with the different sciences, and they're more than I can even think of. But if I'm correct in this hypothesis or theory of mine, where this template gives us all the necessary mathematics and understanding to implement into all these different facets, that's where, again, I want to hook up with other people, and I guess the goal here in the short term would be that we'd like to construct two models. one of them being a 3D model of the Giza Plateau, literally building it from scratch, from numbers, strictly from numbers, and very, you know, in a very logical, beautiful way. I mean, when people really realize what is here in this body of work, they're going to be surprised to see how beautifully simple and elegant it is. It's really,
Can
it makes a
you
lot.
summarize that for us? What is there that we'll be able to see?
Well, we'll be able to see that, first of all, I have not yet, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know of anyone who can come forth and say that they can recreate the Giza Plateau and all its structures from scratch. I mean, most people don't even consider it a complex. It's a, you know, they focus on the Great Pyramid, which is cool. You know, great. Well, there's a lot more going on there than just the Great Pyramid and the Sphinx. So first of all, that is right there, just in that, being able to do that is way more than is out in the public knowledge about Giza. And I stand tall on this and invite anybody to come in and refute anything I've got. All my measurements are all accepted by academia as far as the survey numbers go. I've done the overlays on Google Earth Pro, and I'm measuring as tight as I can measure on Google Earth Pro, and it all fits. And it's a beautifully elegant, logical body of work that teaches you how to measure. I mean, how many people out there in science use measure, right? I think probably everybody has to use some kind of measure in science, right? Well, I want to, and this is a question I've asked all my young life as a woodworker. I was like, well, I'm using measure every day here. Where did this all come from? You know, where does it come from? And I've seen all the, you know, the writings of the metrologists and all that. I've seen it, and they all have these numbers that they can come to an agreement on where these numbers all, you know, fit together and all that. But the one thing that not one of them can say is, where do they all come from? I could never have that question answered. And likewise on the calendars, if we want to get into the celestial aspect, that says, well, what's with these calendars? Why do they start like the Hebrew calendar? You know, I'd ask many times, I'd ask people, do you know where or why the year 0 of the Hebrew calendar is there? I ask, you know, professionals in the field, and they couldn't give me that answer. And well, it's a very logical when you see that it's all part of a map, and that's just one alignment within several different motions that occur celestially. That's just one of them. That's one anchor point. And there's just like the galactic alignment is another major one. And then we have what's known as the Mayan calendar, the long count calendar, which goes back 5,127 years to the year 0. That is measuring another part of the motion. And although it's claimed to be Mayan, I can show that very calendar is right at Giza, and very obvious when you see the whole thing put together. So,
and these numbers you're using are counting backwards from the year 2012.
Correct.
Right.
Yes. I should note that.
Right. So that's part of its purpose. Also, there's a calendar there. It's noting cycles. It's pointing things out in cosmic space, and these same numbers are not only measuring space, but also time. And that's a whole nother element of the template that goes beyond Giza.
Right. Yeah. It's
Go ahead,
kind
Jordan.
of replacing the, you know, it's like everything we've got right now, because we really are at this point in the world where we know so much, right? Like we've really delved so far in and so far out. Like our tools can see so much. so far. But despite this, we've got the foundations wrong. Like when we look at mathematics, and this is what Marco Rodin taught me, is that the foundations are completely wrong. We don't conceive numbers in the right way when we just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Like that is one aspect of numbers. We can see them as doing that, but it doesn't explain their full nature. And so everything we build on top of that, when we don't understand those other aspects of numbers and how we can use them, and this is the same with geometry and sound, because it all kind of unifies into one subject, like Ed teaches. Yeah, then we're building like a house on bad foundations, essentially, So all of this is, because it's really sometimes hard to understand what people like Ed, who've been studying this for 27 years and have splayed out into every single field of science, are talking about. Like, I often encounter this myself, and I'm a youngin', like I haven't done it as much as Ed. But it's like, yeah, really what we're trying to explain is there is a different way to do things from the ground up. And all the other research can still work. It's just, we can get rid of these arbitrary explanations. Sometimes you've got these repeating numbers that don't lead you anywhere, or you've got, just things that could be unified quite easily, or could become harmonic, like we see some of the stuff that Malcolm Bendel presents on the planets, the dimensions, the radius, the distances from each other, or the averages. And it's like, yeah, you're right. You do have to do some small rounding to get there, or their averages, because they're going to be continually passing over this plane. But at the same time, it gives us a calculator, it gives us a way to be able to see what those foundations are and then make set adjustments. And those set adjustments are there, as Ed shows in his work with the qubit system, and a number of other things. We can see multiple uses of different measuring systems being used, and different calendars being used within the construction of Giza. So Giza ends up being this cipher, this way that we can begin to see those foundations again and understand how we can start to rebuild things so that they make sense. Because we must admit at this point that many of our ideas in physics, quantum mechanics, are very arbitrary. They are, in fact, based on arbitrary simulations and models that don't exist, mathematics that isn't accurate to the real world. So at this stage, we've got to take a step back. A lot of that stuff's right. Rebuild the foundations, put it back on. That's what Ed's doing.
Yeah, I kind of see it the same way. And this is ancient knowledge. I mean, just its very nature, it was used to create Giza. So this, you can imagine, and I'm not even going to get into the speculation on the date of Giza either. I don't think that that's a necessary component to understand Giza. It will eventually, we'll figure it out eventually, I think. But I think a key part of it is, if we know what is in this information, it might even tell us when it was created, and just really open up a lot of things for us to realize. But the different facets is what is really intriguing here. And I want to put this out there to others who might be interested in this. I really think it's going to contact so many different parts of science and art and history, and there's a lot of things that are actually ongoing right now, kind of unfolding in the ancient history world that's coming together. Because what I've put together on Giza applies to other sites around the world as well, and that can be quickly looked at and either rejected or not as to whether this other site was aware of the template. They're all using these numbers, and it's like a fingerprint. When the template is laid on, taken from Giza and put in somewhere else, it can be utilized. And that's what they were doing. They were passing this knowledge down through the ages. And that's where we see all these different megaliths, and it's an artwork. I've done a lot of work on different pieces of artwork, mainly Leonardo da Vinci, but actually there's probably at least a dozen well-known masters in Renaissance times in paintings, and coming right up into the very current times, you can see where this template was used to bring forth this knowledge. And that's some of the things that I want to get into with others. And one of the things in the learning part of this is I want to discuss and teach how the template is read. Like there's certain kind of rules that apply to how the template is read and understood, containing your information within this template and marking out certain places. And but it all is really there's so many things that I can't even talk about really right now that would come out in this and in ancient
let's
history.
keep it. Yeah, definitely. I've seen quite a few things. They're outstanding, and it does reach quite far, very far, and uncovering many new things that people have been scratching their heads about. This is going to shine a light on. So yeah, Ed, you were able to publish a book 10 years ago. You want to talk a little bit about that, and then the second book that you're hoping to finish up, and also we want to just overview what the purpose of the template research group is here, and keep it fairly simple and overview. But we're also going to want to know how people can learn about your work and how it's going to be coming out in the future, and that this will turn into a regular discussion here, podcast or broadcast or whatever it may turn into, multiple channels to share the knowledge and the teachings and the long-term curriculum, actually, once it can be produced.
Right.
But yeah, that's a lot of stuff there, but we want to do an overview. So yeah, about your books, the first one,
Okay.
Temple Graal, and then the second one that you're hoping to finish up soon.
Yeah, the first book I'd mentioned, the Giza template, Temple Grail Earth Measure, was 2014, published that, and that was the basic measure. I call Earth measure for a reason, because it mainly pertains to the measures of the Earth. My new book that I've been working on really ever since this whole thing started is just really the celestial aspect of this, and I demonstrate how Giza is made up. Really, there's two celestial aspects to Giza. One being the great Sphinx, the lion being Leo, and its counterpart in the sky would be, or the Sphinx and its counterpart Leo in the sky is the asterism in the constellation of Leo, being associated with the zodiac. And then the three pyramids of the three main pyramids at Giza are indexing with the three belt stars of Orion and giving that another view. So we'd be looking at, as these celestial motions are occurring, these two celestial aspects come into play. So we'll go over all that, go through how these calendars line up, and it's all viewed from the Sphinx. That is the key. If you're going to really do any serious measuring and you really just stop and think about it, if you're on a moving ball, and you got to place your point of measure in one spot and then use that as where you're measuring from in order to get an accurate record of when things are coming up on the horizon, etc. So all that's all planned out. It's all in Giza, and the main seat for the show is right between the paws of the Sphinx, and that's what I'll be putting out in actually the near future here. I'm going to be doing a little video on the starting to understand the celestial aspect of Giza, along with the work from Temple Grail. And, our long-term goal here is to, like I said, is to build a 3D model of both the ground and the sky. And as it is, I have it in 2 dimensions all worked out. That was basically this curriculum that's encoded there is you can learn it from on your own if you take 27 years to do it. It's made to be recovered. And, that's what we want to do. We want to get out there and share this with other areas of science and other people doing research on Giza. And really, it goes much, much further than Giza. And so, in the future here, what we want to do is continue. This is our first real meeting here of the template research group, which we kicked it off officially on the December 21st of 2023. Was the kind of the official send off here. But what we're going to be doing, right, Brad, is we're going to get together here hopefully every couple of weeks or so and have a regular format where we discuss what's certain aspects of this research and bring in other researchers like we did with Jordan and bring it into the fold here. And you might not have seen my work at all, not knowing anything of it, but I think anyone that I think really takes a good look at this will find it affects their research. And I'm pretty confident when I say that. And I'll just have to leave that up to you to come and check us out. And we'll reach out to some people. And we'd also like people to reach out to us. And, if you have any interesting research going on or aware of things that you think are going to fit into this, you can get in touch with us. We've recently got a YouTube page up, channel up with the template research group, and we're going to be putting videos up there. I also have the Giza template YouTube. I also have a HowTube channel where I'll be offering courses as this progresses. There is literally a curriculum at Giza, and it's fashioned in a way that I'm trying to assemble and then present in a curriculum form, and we'll be doing that through HowTube. And but I'd like to just get out to others and talk about this and have them. I shouldn't say I'm looking for peer review, but I'm looking for people's thoughts on this, and constructive criticism is always welcome.
Well, like you said, we'll be reaching out to people. You already have. Jordan was excellent enough to respond and added his brilliance to the work here so far. There's other meetings coming up, and as Ed said, reach out to us also. So those contacts will be made available. The YouTube channel is going to get going. There'll be several other introductory videos. There's several other lectures that Ed's done that we're going to be working on to make available to get you the big picture and the overviews. And what Jordan has applied directly, I think, is mostly from my involvement. I'm no expert in these topics. I'm bringing people together and learning little bits along the way, and a lot of sounding board in my history for Randall Carlson and Ed and a couple other sacred geometry researchers prior to that. But was just going to say, Jordan has gotten into the music theory and the harmonics and how these apply to the musical scales. Do you want to just kind of tease us with that? How that's one area of the sciences and arts that this is going to apply to?
Yeah, sure. So that's it. Like Ed had focused a lot on the geometry, and he had delved into looking at some of the Pythagorean and Platonic ideas of music. But I immediately kind of jumped on that as something to investigate further in this doubling and tripling template with the lambda sequence that Ed's rediscovered, because I'd kind of stumbled upon that as well. And you find that all of these harmonic numbers are frequencies. They're both ratios and frequencies and a number of other things, but it's kind of, the template is a unification of sound and geometry and physics. And so you can explore it from all these different aspects, and it's really hard to kind of describe, but you're not discovering anything new, and you're not exploring one field. You're discovering a lot about geometry as you're researching music, and you're discovering a lot about music as you're researching numbers. And that's kind of the nature of the template, I think, is that you're just following breadcrumbs. It's really fascinating. And I know that it probably sounds really strange listening to this podcast from the outside if you've got no idea what we're talking about, because it sounds very esoteric and we're not really saying exactly what it is. But it's just this, you see these breadcrumbs and these signs left from our ancient ancestors everywhere, and whether they're musical, geometric, or they're numbers or signs or buildings, they're just leading us all to this same understanding. And so, yeah, that's a big focus for me, is understanding this in terms of frequency, just like Nikola Tesla said. It's one way we can consider it, but there's, of course, the geometrical considerations, which are the same. So that's the beauty of it, and why I've kind of gone down that track. But you can check out my videos on the channel on Pythagorean tuning and that type of thing on that. And that's really tying things in with Malcolm Bendel's work as well, because he has really been the guy who taught me that that was the case. You know, in practicality, it's not just everything's frequency in some kind of vague way. No, it really is frequency. Everything's energy. Everything has a frequency. We can actually use and manipulate this, and use it for the advancement of science as well. So also looking at that direction of things, which is why the music is a big focus for me.
Yeah, and I did want to just add something I neglected here earlier, was that etymology plays a big role in this. The etymology of the words and their functions. And I'll be demonstrating all the way through this research. I'll not only show you, how the geometry works and then how the math works with that. We're also going to show you how the etymology works with it, and then we'll show you how the celestial aspects works with it, and then how the music can work with it. It's all tied together, as any unified theory should, right? I mean, that's the whole unified kind of means that, right?
It just keeps unifying.
It does. And that's exactly what's happening now. And we're seeing that with Malcolm's work, and we're seeing with Marco's work, and different work is all coming together here. Randall and Brad's work with the geology and the dating of these cycles. And that's a key point that'll be in this, is the new book with the celestial aspect, is the calendars. Velikovsky tried to reconcile the calendars by finding one event that could be clearly marked on all the calendars. Well, he just didn't think to look at the year 2012 and the galactic alignment. That is the alignment. That is the realignment for all the calendars and all the measure of time. All hinges around 2012 and the alignment with the galactic center. Those are some of the things that all tie in here. I just did want to mention the etymology there, though. But
well, just to expand on that slightly, the wordplay that is involved there, since it's right behind you. You see Orion's belt, right? Betelgeuse is the big bright orange star over your head there. So Orion, and Ed will get into this on down the line, but it's also a way to orient and a point of origin. So little samples like that play out through the words, and it's puzzles.
Yes,
and
Template
recovering the answers to these mental puzzles. And Ed's put half his life into it, and really appreciate what you've done, Ed. And it's coming around, and you and I have been talking for years and getting it narrowed and organized and breaking it down. And Jordan showed up now, so we're hoping this is the start of a great thing with the template research group.
Yeah, I want to thank you, Brad. You've been great helping me along with this. But yeah, go ahead, Jordan.
Happy to do it, Ed.
Yeah, no, that's about all I got to say as well. Is yeah, I hope people would like to come and learn some of what Ed has rediscovered here, and then see how it can correlate with their own work, because it does essentially. Is all I want to say is it does. Like, it's not immediately apparent, I will admit, because I've just encountered enough people looking into these esoteric forms of mathematics and geometry to know that, but it's there, trust me. It's yeah, there's something absolutely huge here which could help every field of science implode into one really great, creative, fun world.
Well, yeah, I really feel that this information could really help all humanity, and to be quite frank, I think that that's exactly why it was left there. It was to help humanity to get through these cycles and to preserve the knowledge, and then have that curriculum there, and with adepts and teachers down through the ages, just to continue to move this information forward. And I've spent the last 27 years working on it, and it's time now to, I got quite a bit of information to share, and I really hope that some people reach out to us, and we're going to reach out to other people as well. I have many presentations done on a lot of different things, and I could probably do a little bit of teasing with some of the different things that I've looked at, but I've looked into the Oak Island mystery, and I've looked into Coral Castle, and many different major cities in the world and how they're laid out. So there's a lot to get here, and the story is quite amazing as I see it at this point. And it has to be shared. I don't. This is not something for me to keep for myself, or this is put there for humanity, and I do believe to help us, mature and realize some things. So
yeah, maintain and evolve, and have a long, peaceful future with some grand technologies that we've lost and being recovered to get us through these tough times here, and long, beautiful, and I'm expecting spacefaring future.
Yeah, I think so. Go ahead, Brett, or Jordan. Go ahead.
Yeah, just in general agreement there. I think if we can actually harness these ideas, it's essentially analog computing, analog power. There's energy, huge masses of energy everywhere in the universe, and we're able to transmit information in ourselves. All energy is just information, like, no matter what we want to call it. So all these things are entirely possible, I believe. And it's time to just stop looking at adding another little, piece to this mad scientific building we've made, and just go back to these analog basics, understand how the universe works properly, harness this energy, and see what human beings' true spiritual potential is, in terms of technology and life, and everything.
Absolutely. So we will continue with this. I think that's a good introduction and overview. Appreciate you very much, Ed. Wherever you find this video, we're gonna put it out on multiple channels, but there will be a base channel, multiple media outlets, but youtube.com/template research, and I'll be putting all the different links also to Jordan's Alchemical Science channel in the description for the video. So however you found us, wherever, come back, and we'll have a base there, and we're going to keep talking and build this temple research group.
Cheers,
Great,
guys.
Brad.
Thanks for inviting me in.
All right. Good night, gentlemen.
Glad to have you.
Well
Good
done.
night. Thank you
All
very
right.
much. Good night.
Good night.